The limits of artificial intelligence. Now, this is an extended version of the talk I gave at the 42nd International Symposium on Economic Crime, held at Jesus College, Cambridge on September the 4th, 2025. In the symposium, much was being said about the potential of artificial intelligence, but little consideration was given to its limitations. To do this, we must first rid ourselves of all anthropocentric thinking and get back to basics. I start with the hypothesis that all sentient entities exist amid chaos. I use the word chaos here like the ancient Greeks. Chaos isn't anorder or even disorder, it's pre-order, awaiting a sentient entity to resolve order from it. This leads me to the notion of a sentient host, which contains a dynamic and inseparable triad of cognition, observation, and memory. The host operates amidst the chaos, and its actions can change chaos and be changed by it. Now, basic cognition involves resolving sensory data from the environment, processing that data, making decisions, and acting appropriately on those decisions. By this definition, even an amoeba exhibits cognition. Basic cognition doesn't need consciousness or even a brain. Observation is the use of the senses to impose patterns on the environment, which feeds back as abstract data in various forms to the host. Senses are unchangeable in the host, other than by damage. However, they can evolve into something different in subsequent generations. And memory, well, that's just the collection of past experiences, be it in hardware, software, or wetware. I don't want you to think of this triad as three separate things. I see them like the Borromean rings, three interlinked circles that, because of their topology, are inseparable as a triple, even though no two of them are linked. That property, that structural coupling, which I call a latency, only exists when there are three rings, not two. By distinguishing one of the rings, the structural coupling is lost and the residual category of the two remaining rings will fall apart. Thus, in separation, the latency in the three rings is made to disappear, and the two parts, the separated ring and its residual category, no longer comprise the original whole. Something, namely the latency, is lost. Now, back to the notion of a sentient host, which resolves an ordering amongst the chaos, using its cognition, observation, and memory. To the individual host, reality is the totality of the order with which it has become familiar through its lifetime, and which forms a backdrop for action. A reality does not need consciousness, not even awareness. Amoebas, beetles, cats, dogs, humans, and AI are all sentient hosts with their respective resolved realities. Of course, those realities will differ between species and to a lesser extent between individuals of the same species. After all, we humans may believe we are observing the real world, but every leaf, tree, mountain, planet, galaxy, etc. is a familiar, stable item, resolved from chaos by our shared human sentient triads. Yes, shared. For let's face it, I believe that all human reality is similar to mine. However, no matter how much I anthropomorphize, I have absolutely no idea about my cat's resolved reality or that of AI. Yes, AI has a reality. What is more, cognition does not deliver an explanation of the chaos, merely a partial description of it, of a resolution that is convincing to the host. However, what convinces us is not necessarily true, it is merely convincing. In humans, we call it explanation, but it is description which distinguishes us from earlier stages of knowledge and science. We describe better, we explain just as little as any who came before us. The means and scope of such cognition will change because of feedback within the triad. Hence, all realities are malleable. The sentient triad projects their delusions onto the chaos, and the returning dynamic descriptions have the utility of changing its world and enabling the host to negotiate that world more or less successfully. So let us now consider first human and then AI sentient hosts. Now, we humans, using sensations of heat, light and sound, resolve chaos into the various states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, plasma. And some say there are 18 more, but we'll ignore them. Let's call it human reality, biological reality. Theoretical physicists go further and resolve chaos into various particles, etc., etc. Entities that do not resolve at the level of human observation, other than as proxies. Now, have physicists uncovered the objective building blocks of the universe? Or is it just a theoretical extension of the resolution of our human reality? One that does not link to our species' biological reality other than as proxies. Even that resolution has its critics. Some propose extending into other esoteric domains such as string theory. Every reality is malleable, especially with humans and our technological artifacts, which act as a sink for noise among the chaos. We humans can extend our reality using technological devices like plastics, computers, electron microscopes, the Hadron Collider, etc., but always by projecting such unresolved entities into proxies, which eventually can only be observed in our fundamental human reality. In our latest book, The Technological Construction of Reality, my good friend Dr. Dionysios Demetis and I consider how technology is changing human cognition and its various sub-realities: biological, physical, financial, political, etc. Now, you could now ask, where does human consciousness fit into all of this? Well, for Nietzsche, consciousness emerged later in development as an evolutionary adaptation needed to interpret and share states of cognition. Consciousness is then a means of making sense of what has already occurred at a deeper cognitive level. As for observation, according to Niklas Luhmann, in humans, the world is observable because it is unobservable, and the condition of its possibility is its impossibility. When observing, we create distinctions without which we would be unable to observe. Each distinction cuts up the world into two parts: the observable and the discarded unobservable. Cognition would be swamped if all the data in the world entered the senses. Data must be filtered. That filter takes the form of delusions. Yes, a reality, but a false reality. This property of observation means that there are limits to what can be resolved from the chaos. All observation is therefore partial, both biased and incomplete. This is the same in all sentient triads. The structural couplings in the chaos, so casually truncated and discarded by distinctions needed for observation, continue to operate and interrelate in the now unobservable whole, and these can reassert themselves as hazards in the most inconvenient ways. Thus, to every sentient triad, the world is unknowable, yet variously interpretable via the feedback in observation, cognition, and memory, thereby being the basis of action and subsequently layered into memory. So now consider AI, which too contain a sentient triad. A few questions can arise. Can AI become conscious? We're only aware of our own personal consciousness, not even of any other human. So we wouldn't be aware of it should AI become conscious. Does AI even need to be conscious to exceed human capabilities in its focused applications? We don't know if AI categorizes this world as we humans do, or if it uses categorization at all. Neural networks are just dynamic networks of numbers, each generated using human proxy data. Nevertheless, even if AI did become conscious, it is still hogtied by its links to the input of human observations and memories. AI may outpace humanity, but it will not transcend it, because like humanity, AI is trapped in the chaos of the unknown and unknowable. Like humans, it too may generate descriptions, but never explanations, and those descriptions are beyond human analysis. Those who believe AI, or nuclear physics for that matter, will give us an ultimate truth, a God's eye view of our world, an objective theory of everything, are going to be sorely disappointed. Heinz von Förster summed it up. Objectivity is the delusion that observations could be made without an observer. Consider the computer code being generated by AI. It still requires a human knowledgeable encoding to check the output before any implementation, because sometimes AI produces utter garbage. You need to check it. A human needs to check it. Now, because of this asymmetry between the chaos as it is and as it is observed, all observation in I, exactly as it is in humans, is conditional, and those ambiguous conditions are necessarily unobservable, unappreciable, uncertain. Thank you.